Welcome back to the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. Yeah, it's about all the radio voice I'm going to be able to do today. Hi, how you doing? I'm your host, Gonzo, Big Daddy Gonzo, that loud bastard. Welcome back. The post-NFL post-mortem show. What a season. Congratulations to the Super Bowl 59 world champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Which, by the way, I called that back in August. I said the Eagles look just so stacked. So stacked. They've got two mammoth defensive tackles that they drafted from Georgia in successive years. They built a defense around those kids that is stifling. And let's hear it for Vic Fangio. So I started looking like a genius the farther the season went. But I'm surprised Kansas City never showed up. I'm really surprised that they just did not show up. What was that all about? Seated across from you, by the way, matriculating on your screen from, what is it, north to south? Is that way north?
I think it's northwest.
That's south northwest. Okay, well, welcome to Matthew Masaracchio.
What's going on, folks? Happy Sunday.
We got a lot going on, even though it's after football. I mean, we're gonna put on our guru hats, and we're going to predict the future. We are going to go over what has transpired. The coaching carousel was pretty, let's call it interesting.
Yeah.
They waited right down to the wire, waited until Kellen Moore got done winning a Super Bowl ring before he was off to New Orleans. So, he's the new king of NOLA. And he stole the quarterback coach from the Eagles, too. So, the Eagles have every Super Bowl winner is always going to have to replenish their coaching stock.
Yeah, well, Detroit lost both their coaches.
Both
OC and DC.
Both.
Yeah, so they've got some rebuilding to do as well.
There's a whole lot going on there.
Yeah,
Ben Johnson went to Chicago. Aaron Glenn went to New York. Brian Schottenheimer
stayed in
Dallas.
Yeah, a little wink there.
I mean, we're talking about a guy that was on everybody's short list, a lot of teams' short list. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. You went on what? 2 interviews? 1 interview?
I don't even
any
know
interviews?
Any interviews. Like I said, I don't even think he was coveted by any team at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe prior to this year, but to me, I think we hit on something
right
just before. Maybe that was a Jerry Jones thing where he was like, you know what, I'm staying in house. I'm getting this out there on the QT. You really don't need to come talk to him because he's not going anywhere, and so that's maybe why that happened the way it did. But I know that he caught some heat. I know Dallas caught some heat for not taking a swing in terms of going after a coach, at least bringing somebody in that was going to create a little bit of excitement and a little bit of, something around the organization, But no, they just went boring and stayed in house and grabbed a guy that, maybe wasn't on many lists to begin with at all, Maybe because of Jerry and what he had said, or maybe because he just wasn't on many teams' lists. I don't know.
I've been telling everybody for years this. So listen, Jerry, he said, I really want to get another Super Bowl ring before I, step away from the team and retire. I mean, I'm 89 years old or whatever. And I'm like, Jerry don't care. Well, win or lose. Win, he wants all the credit. Lose, he don't care if he gets the blame. Why? Because he has the comfort of that massive stadium and the most valuable sports franchise on the planet and all the money that he makes off of it. He doesn't have to do anything. Even though he's still an oil and electronics magnate or some crap like that, but no, he doesn't really care. He wants all the credit if something good happens, and he don't care if he gets the blame. He doesn't care if you're mad. He gets mad if one of his people on the inside, because he's a total Texas gangster. He's a total Arkansas gangster. So, all you have to do is go watch any of these Taylor Sheridan shows like Landman or Tulsa King, and you'll see that's exactly who Jerry Jones is.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Well, I mean, again, but he somewhat deserves that entitlement, I think.
Sure, why not?
He's earned it. I mean, somebody has to be at the top of the pile.
Sure.
And he certainly is one of those owners.
King's privilege, if you will.
Top of the pile. So good to Jerry. Bad for the team, bad for the owner. I mean, bad for the players and such, and for the fans. But
well, we have a really interesting situation happening out in Las Vegas right now, though. I think it is. And I've been telling everybody for a year now. I said, Tom Brady, he got involved in the hiring process. Tom Brady picked Pete Carroll. Let's face facts. He picked him. I think Tom Brady's going to have his final year as a play-by-play or a color analyst Okay, because he's going to want to collect that $35 million check again. Who knows? There might be a clause. He might have an out after the second year. But he's going to go take over as president of football operations. Mark my words.
Is he a 5% owner right now in the Raiders?
I think it's 5%. Yeah,
that what he has
it's
now?
like either 5% or 12%, something like that.
Big difference, but I think it was a low. I think it was not low. 5% is still a huge number, but yeah, that'll certainly probably go up.
Well, and we're gonna see if his football brain is good. And I mean, John Elway was very successful. John Elway's football brain has been very good for the Denver Broncos. So,
well, yeah, it's been a Lynch thing too. I think it's been a combination of a few factors.
well, Lynch out in San Francisco is
these former players,
Yeah.
former coaches on that train or that tree have been very, very smart. So
yeah,
for sure.
most definitely. So, yeah, we got Pete Carroll out there establishing a new culture for Las Vegas. I think you're going to see a three-headed monster at quarterback next year. There's going to be a big competition in camp. Everybody's talking about a reunion with Russell Wilson. Maybe, possibly. But I think it's going to be veteran, high draft choice, maybe Shadur Sanders. And Aiden O'Connell is still under contract, so he'll be there. I think they're going to get rid of Gardner Minshew. Wouldn't mind seeing him in Miami. That wouldn't be a bad idea. That guy's a great backup everywhere he goes. And
with a little bit of Steeler news that I just read.
oh my God.
Was
I listen? I was being sensitive to your emotional attachment to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well,
you guys have got some chaos going on right now.
I'm so ultra focused on baseball now. I've kind of put football to the
They're
burner.
sneaking it by you.
The two things I'm listening for clearly are the quarterback rumors. I'm hearing a bunch of them. We're hearing Aaron Rodgers at one point was the clear favorite, according to Vegas, to be a Steeler. Now the latest thing that I saw that I read this morning was a trade involving the Rams. Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford for a second, a third, and a fifth.
And a bag of towels.
Next year. Okay, that's great. I would rather have those players certainly than Aaron Rodgers. But I will go back very simply, and then we'll move on from this whole Steeler thing. when you have the same shot callers in place, then how do you expect to get different results than what we've already had? So you're basically trying to piece together your team by bringing players in through free agency, which will work generally if you make the right moves. But again, same philosophy, same coaches, same result for me. So unless every move that they make somehow is the perfect move and it is enough to overcompensate for their failures on the coaching side and on the culture side of things, because now every year there's one or two players in the organization that just go off the rails. That never happened. It's happening now. So whether they get everything else in terms of the performance on the field to overshadow all the problems, the underlying problems, which again rarely happens, then yeah, maybe there's some success if they bring in Stafford and Kupp. I can tell you those guys are championship guys, and I know they're not going to be dealing with any of the bullshit that goes on, especially at the receiver position, because that's been the Achilles heel for the Steelers the last several years. Our top guys, Antonio Brown. Now we're having problems with Pickens.
What is it about the Pittsburgh water? It makes a kid go bananas.
They
after about 2 years, all of a sudden it's boing,
Deontay Johnson,
another one, boing.
What the hell are we doing here? So, there's obviously an issue with how things are being taught or how they're being instructed.
It's the water, I'm telling you.
Okay, so whatever. And from that perspective, again, if you got the same pieces in place or the same people calling the shots, and all you're doing is you're interchanging your chess pieces. If you're the dumbest chess player at the table, you're going to lose every time. Well, it doesn't matter, if you have the same pieces or not. If you don't know how to move your pieces, if you don't know how to, put your pieces in the best position to win, then you're just spinning your wheels. That's insanity. Definition of insanity.
It's surprising to me that Arthur Smith, your offensive coordinator, has not gone after Ryan Tannehill. Because he's had the most success with Ryan Tannehill more than any other quarterback that he's ever worked with. Now, granted, he had Derrick Henry to hand the ball off to 30 times a game, but Ryan Tannehill had a career-high completion percentage, Pro Bowl nods, all of that when they were together for 4 years.
Great. So we bring in Ryan Tannehill, okay, and that does what exactly? Does it move the needle?
Stabilizes quarterback?
Stabilizes what? We are stable at quarterback. We have average quarterback play.
Okay.
We don't need more average quarterback play.
You need more offensive linemen.
Our offensive line has been at the bottom for the last 7 years. You cannot have your offensive line be that bad for so long. Because The excuses, I mean, what excuses are you left with? Is it injuries? Is it draft choicing? Is it business? Is it guys underperforming? Is it just preparation? What is it? 7 years? What is it?
Well, you made a few improvements last year, okay? I mean, you had like 3 holes on the offensive line last year.
Just going by statistics.
Right.
And if you look at the statistics,
injuries hurt you last year.
We've been a bottom 10 offensive line probably 7 of the last 8 years.
Yeah, okay. I relate. So have the Dolphins.
What are we doing?
Dolphins been bottom 5, so there, we've been worse.
We
suck
no,
more.
at times,
we suck more.
At times we've been there too. There's no excuse for that when you build a franchise on running the ball on defense, when you can't block and you can't protect your quarterback, which means you can't stay on the field, which means it puts even more pressure on your defense. Look at how good our defense has been the last couple of years. And that's been despite the offense being atrocious. Imagine if we had an average offense, how good that defense would be. Imagine how much better those guys would look on that side of the ball that they spent all the money on anyway to be able to win games and play. Lean on the defense, but give them a fucking chance. The offense doesn't allow them to do that. The coaching has not allowed them to do that, and the fact that they cannot fix the most important part of your team for years is a problem. But what do? They bring in a guy that struggled in Atlanta to call plays, and they put him with a coach who hasn't won a playoff game in fucking 12 years. So, whatever. All right, let's move on. That's baseball.
Okay. Well, and it's also kind of tough when you have a division where you've got 2 Super Bowl contending teams, especially Baltimore. Cincinnati, once they get their defense together, they're actually a Super Bowl contender because we all know Joe knows how to win games.
That's embarrassing, too. That's 2 teams in the same division that cannot get out of their own way with no excuse as to why they can't fix their problems.
Yeah.
They're in a much better spot than we are. They have the quarterback, the best one in the league, perhaps.
Yeah,
and they still can't get
Burrow.
to the playoffs with that defense and offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
Another organization that needs to look at what they're doing and make changes at the positions and with the people are making the decisions. There are smart football people out there. There are teams that turn these things around quickly. A year, you can turn your franchise around in a year in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
If you hit in the draft 4 or 5 players and you use free agency, you can turn your season around. It happens every single year.
Oh, yeah.
But when you can't do it for a number of years and you're stuck into the same problems systemically over and over again, then you have to make changes at the top.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And you can't fire yourself if you're the owner, so you have to go to the next guy, which is the coaching staff, the guys that are responsible to put the best product on the field. And they're not doing it. Loyalty is the biggest cripple in this country right now for anything, is loyalty and afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. Just make a fucking change already.
I'm offended.
God, just look at reality. People are just afraid of reality.
Well, look at the Detroit Lions. Okay, 2 years ago, a lot of people seem to forget that. Last year was Dan Campbell's second year. That Campbell regime, that was their second year in charge. Okay, first year they were. What were they? They were 6-10. That was the last 16-game season. They were 6-10.
But the Lions hadn't won anything in 40 years, so
but
it didn't matter.
They changed the culture.
So they were just continually winning. They finally got it right.
Yep.
And now they continue. The Steelers have a history, a culture. They had a culture. It had a history.
Maybe it's gotten stale.
It is stale.
Okay.
And that's my biggest thing. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the Lions are
even more stale than that Dunkin' Donuts coffee roll you brought in.
Godly, it was bad. I know it was. Very heavy too.
It was heavy, and it was a hard shell.
Very dense roll. Yeah,
it's a good thing. If you had to defend yourself with it, you could have. And I would totally understand.
Shot put that thing for training. You're like, come on, baby, get it out.
So
yes.
we've done your team.
You got my blood pressure up.
We've done your team therapy. Now we're going to do my team therapy. My team therapy is pretty simple, and that is clean a little bit of house. They've decided to keep the Greer and McLovin combination, because Greer kept his mouth shut, and he's been a loyal made guy. So you don't get rid of a loyal made guy. You give him an extra chance. So he kept his mouth shut.
When he goes, they'll go together.
Yeah.
That's a together.
Boom, boom. One week after the other.
Less.
I don't think McDaniel's going to lose I don't think he's going to lose the locker room. I don't think he's going to lose the locker room. He's going to keep a bunch of guys that are his guys. That's the reason why I think Tyreek Hill is going to stay. Okay, because no other coach in the NFL would put up with that crap. No other coach would have taken any shred of that shit.
It's been quiet though.
Okay.
The Tyreek Hill news. There's
Yeah,
been none
well,
of it.
he's been apologetic. He took Super Bowl week to be apologetic, and Pro Bowl week to be apologetic, and that's fine. And he says he wants to stay. And he's only got 40 million reasons to want to stay, but. And I don't think they're going to get rid of him. So Dolphin fans, get over it. We're not trading Tyreek Hill. It's just not happening.
He probably told him. He said, listen, we're going to make you the offense this year. Stay with us one more year. Let's build some coach bullshit talk, whatever.
I don't doubt it.
Got inside Ty because Tyreek's not a smart guy. You can just tell. He's a football guy, but he's not a smart person. He's not a smart life guy. So if you got him on your side for now, use him as most as you can, like they will. He's still a talented player. So
yeah, so he's not a theoretical physicist. Okay, he's not an absolute genius. He's got a lot of street smarts, a lot of common sense, but he's also a little kooky and a little freaky.
Character flaws.
Yeah, a little bit of a character issue.
Some of us have more than others.
Yeah,
He's got a few.
Little bit of a character issue,
It's
but
fair enough to say.
because he's a character.
Whatever.
He is a character.
Okay.
So he's staying, but the bottom line for the Dolphins is you better go out and acquire about 8 offensive linemen, and 5 of them better be starting quality. And then you figure out who's who. Okay, you got to let Armstead go. You've got to trade Bradley Chubb. You got to get rid of some of that overage because they're right now because of the moves that they've recently made, letting Raheem Mostert go, letting Kendall Fuller go. They've cleared some space. They're going to have to clear more space, and so it's going to be a little bit of chipping away here, chipping away there. Not even for whatever assets you get for Bradley Chubb. You get Bradley Chubb, you get a 5th rounder and a bag of towels. That's fine. Okay, but they've got to restructure, and they just got to put offensive linemen. I don't want to see a skill position player drafted. I don't want to see one of them. Running back, wide receiver, tight end. It better be a great tight end because we've already got a good one. He may be on the tail end of his career, but Jonnu Smith is just fine.
You still have Smythe or no?
Nope, they got rid of Smythe. He was one of the guys they got rid of. Saved $2.5-3 million, something like that. You got to start chipping away at that big block.
Yeah, no, Jonnu Smith had a massive year last year.
So a lot of the initial mock drafts, a lot of the experts are saying Malachi Starks from Georgia, and this kid Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State. The kid has started on all 5 positions on the offensive line, which is great if we want to put him in at right guard, and he can be the backup center. And boom, and we can plug that kid in for the next 10 years. So there, boom, boom, 1, 2. I don't care what you do for 3, 4, 5. Trade some guys away and get some other pieces. There's been rumors about trading our compensatory 3rd round draft choice for, say, a Zaire Alexander who wants out of Green Bay. That would be fine if you can make it fit under the salary cap. But it's offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, and I don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah, after the draft, certainly there will be a little bit more free agent discussion because you'll have teams that are drafting players.
Free agency starts March 10th.
Yeah,
in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Where a player will look around and go, "Why'd they take another linebacker? I want them out of here." So that free agency thing usually picks up.
Listen, they've got guys. They've got guys in right now in Jordan Brooks and I can't remember who the other guy that they got from Seattle who balled out the last 6 games of the season. They went and picked him up. Brain fart. Anyway, but yeah, they got guys that they can bring back that know the system, that played well in the system, and will be easy enough to bring back, and that's fine. That's great. Do that, but I don't want to see any skill position players. I don't want to see any of them. I just don't. Okay, they just keep Tariq and keep the guys you got. I don't want to see any skill position. I don't want to see you draft a running back. No, forget that.
Yeah.
Offensive line, defensive line, safety. Malachi Stark, he's a 6'2", 220-pound safety. Yeah, he's a banger, and he's a ball hawk. Look at his body of work at Georgia. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. You want a guy that can run your defense, and so Weaver's going to be there like that guy right there. Yep, thank you. Okay, and I'm done. And Weaver will leave the room. That's it. I got the guy I wanted. You can have whatever else you want. Draft offensive lineman for the next 7 picks. I don't care. And that's what they have to do. And simple as that. Otherwise, Greer, McDaniel, you're done. You're out of there. And I've told you before. I want Louis Riddick as a general manager. You get Louis Riddick, the personnel guy who's had a few stops here and there with Cleveland and And Philadelphia, smart guy. He's the smartest guy on ESPN. Everybody has him on his shows, and a lot of what he says comes true.
No, he's a smart guy.
Very smart guy.
You know, we're all assuming because of the ownership stake in the Raiders that Brady has that he's going to go to the Raiders, perhaps, right?
Oh, 100%.
Now, what happens, again, he has Florida connections too. And
In Tampa, yes, of course.
what happens if he decides to keep it in-house and there's an opening with the Dolphins? What's his relationship with Danny Boy? I mean, is him and Danny tight? Because I know Danny would have something to say about that. Like they would probably.
Well, Louis Riddick?
No, I'm talking about Brady being interested in having a position with the Dolphins franchise and not the Raiders franchise. I said, is there room for that?
That would be highly unusual for a minority owner in a team.
Well, he'd have to sell his ownership. He'd have to sell the ownership for the Raiders.
But he's not going to want to do that. I'm telling you, I keep telling everybody, he's going to end up being the president of football operations for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Would you be okay, I guess, then, or hypothetically, if things changed tomorrow, you woke up and you found out that Brady was interested in a ownership position with the Dolphins? How would you feel about that?
All day, every day.
All day, every day.
Take over for Ross.
Okay, right
Buy
now.
him out.
Done. Okay.
Screw
okay.
you. You
All
keep
right.
the stadium, keep the fruity
Okay.
tennis and the
Okay.
F1. You keep all of that. That's all you. We'll pay you rent.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Okay, because that's
what I
the
wanted to hear.
only way. God, don't even get me started on Ross. But okay, so we've done
Yes.
the Dolphins.
We've done
gone by.
Dolphins,
Yes, go get a
Steelers.
backup quarterback. By the
Yes.
way,
Yeah.
backup quarterback. Hey, Gardner Minshew will be out there.
Yeah.
I love Gardner Minshew.
Go ahead.
But he mandatorily has to grow the Fu Manchu back. Got to grow the Fu Manchu back so that I can wear a fake Fu Manchu because I can't grow much here. You can grow a Fu Manchu.
I grow a Fu
I'm
Manchu.
a little gappy right there, but
Yeah, well,
I want the Fu Manchu
Shave
back.
it up.
I want
So-
the stash.
Obviously, we talked a little football.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be segueing into some baseball this year because it is baseball season now. But we can, no, we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it go. We're going to talk a little bit about, I don't know if you heard this, but ESPN and Major League Baseball are separating after this year.
Yep.
They didn't agree to terms.
Yep.
ESPN offered whatever it was, or they didn't come to terms on it. It was not enough. I'm not surprised. I'm not an ESPN guy. I haven't been them for years. I went over to Fox, FX Sports.
Ever since Pedro died.
It's not. I don't know. It's just ESPN for me, and I'm reading a lot of stuff on Facebook. The other platforms are talking about it, and if you go through the comments, they're pretty unanimous in terms of their opinion about ESPN, and it's not favorable.
No.
There's many reasons for that. We can go into political, we can go into just coverage, we can go into
The
personality.
mothership is taking on water
Yeah,
right
big
now for
time.
the last couple of 3 years. Actually,
time.
since COVID, I would say.
I think they're swinging and missing on this baseball thing. Baseball's popularity is coming back. It's improving. Over the last several years, it has increased. And like anything else, like all the other sports, I think it goes hand in hand with gambling and fantasy sports. I think when you raise the stakes in it, then certainly the things associated with it, like
There's so much stuff you can
baseball.
gamble on with baseball. Oh my God!
It's a massive industry, and it's growing, and it's taking these sports along with them. They go hand in hand. You can't watch a baseball game, not see a commercial. You can't watch a game on TV, look at the stadium, wherever they're playing, and see an advertisement for DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever. It's a part of sports now. And that's fine, okay? It's helping everybody move along. Everybody is benefiting from that. So I feel like ESPN's missing here, and I think it's just another misstep that they're going to continue to take until they either get overtaken or bought by somebody else or whatever the case may be. But I'm glad baseball's stood on their laurels here and said pretty much F you, ESPN. We're good without you. And that's the decision they made. So good for them. I'm rooting for baseball. I'm a baseball homer, obviously. I've been talking about it for years. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be an amazing year. There's so many stories to get into for baseball, so many players. You know what's shocking with this ESPN thing, too, just to, maybe put that to rest? The whole Ohtani thing, the whole Dodger experience now, they have now probably 3 of the best 4 or 5 Japanese players on the planet.
Turning Japanese.
Okay.
I think I'm turning Japanese. I
On the
really think
Dodgers.
so.
The global influence in Asia with these players alone is just, it's massive. And it's only going to continue to grow because this game is obviously a global game. It's more global, I feel, than any sport that we play.
Sure.
Now, I know you're going to say, well, no, soccer, whatever. Soccer's played by more people by all over the world, but
Basketball,
baseball,
hockey.
in terms of the talent, not even homegrown, but in terms of all through the Dominicans, all through Central America, all through Cuba, and all through Europe now, and
Well,
and
baseball,
Asia.
baseball is just starting to catch on in Europe. It's still going to be 5 to 10 years until they start producing some stars.
But
really,
it's growing exponentially, and all it takes is a
Asia,
generation.
listen, Korea, Japan,
massive.
Okay, even some Australians.
Massive. So
okay?
again, just
and
another-
then the Caribbean and the northern
Yeah.
areas of the South America.
It's
okay, I
massive.
understand the global reach there.
Yeah.
Okay, and we just saw the Four Nations tournament with hockey. Okay, which they could put 2 other nations in there as well. And,
Well, the
and probably,
WBC when they were here with the World Baseball Classic
Right.
was massive.
yes, the international
Yeah.
appeal
It's
is growing.
huge. So anyway, back to
if,
ESPN.
if the San Francisco Giants were smart, they'd go after Korean players.
Well, I mean, it's certainly helps to be a little bit closer geographically, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. The reach. If Otani was a Yankee, he'd get the same exposure as if he were a Dodger. But again, these guys and overall baseball right now, I think, is gaining popularity. I think it's going in the right direction, and it doesn't really need ESPN. And I think that was the statement that it made. It was like, okay, fine, you're moving on, we're moving on too. We have Fox, we have FX. Now, just like football, you have all these streaming platforms that are vying for your business. I'm sure as baseball's popularity grows, I mean, it won't be the same price tag, but you'll have streaming services, vying for their product as well. And hopefully in doing so, new set of eyes, new set of faces. Again, maybe they, relook in terms of exposure, and that tends to get, a little bit more popular. So it just builds, the momentum will build on each other and just continue to grow the game of baseball here as well as globally. So that's hopefully what we're doing. So we take a break. We can come back and talk about some players because they're swinging bats right now and they're pitching pitches. It's preseason games. We already had an 11-10 game yesterday.
I think
Angels and the Seattle Mariners.
Juan Soto just hit another home run. I guess. I mean,
Soto.
it's just like every at bat, the dude's cranking home runs out of that stadium in Port St. Lucie.
Yeah, I want to talk about the top 10 when we come back. About top 10 for fantasy drafts this year, where we think these guys are going to go, and if these guys really deserve to be top 10 players.
Fantasy baseball.
Let's go.
Coming up.
Let's go.
Right after this. I've had to listen to this dude moaning about this right after the first of the year. Like, pitchers and catchers report. Oh, they've reported.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. Everybody's in place.
Let's go.
Okay. Let me hold him back. Okay, right after this break. Batter. He started without us. Welcome back, folks. Yeah, he's already started without us. He's already going over. He's talking about Shohei Ohtani has been listed as batter.
Batter.
Well, here's another fun fact for you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Homeboy's been pitching and he's been pitching in the 95 to 99 mile per hour speed range.
That's where he should be after they rebuilt his elbow.
And we all know that he's got awesome control. He's a 6-pitch guy? 6 pitches?
Whatever. It's just deception. It's arm angle. It's variation. It's all those things. Pitch delta. It's everything. The dude's a beast. But
if he's the 4th or 5th starter in that rotation,
yeah, but he's not. He's probably the second starter.
Are we gonna crown the Dodgers again?
They have a lot of wins on the board. 103 says Vegas. 103 and a half, I think, was the total. We'll talk about that too. I will say this though about the pitching this year, since we're talking about the Dodgers and Ohtani and whatever. What I've seen so far in the beginning parts of this spring training is 3 or 4 teams that I know for sure are going to be going with a 6-man rotation. Now, I think overall, over the last, and this is statistically driven, over the last 15 years, the number of innings that the starting pitchers have been going have been less and less. Okay, 15 years ago it was almost 6 1/3, 6 2/3 innings, the average start. Now it hovers just around 5 innings.
Right.
So it's come down considerably. What that does puts a lot of pressure on your bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, what these guys are doing with these better starting rotations is they're going with 6-man rotations. Now, what that does is that takes a man out of the bullpen. One of these guys that you use during the year to keep that bullpen fresh.
Right.
You're not going to just take one of your 6 starters and throw them into the bullpen on an as-need basis. So you're putting a lot of pressure on those 6 guys to throw innings. And it's something to look at for these teams. Now, the Dodgers have a staff they can do that. We mentioned Ohtani and Buehler, and, man, they're loaded for Yamamoto. The other Japanese pitchers, they're loaded. But
well, you're playing what? You're playing 24 games a month? Is that what it is? 24 a month?
They take a day off a week. So however that works out to be, I don't know. But it's basically most rotations are every 5th day.
Right.
Which means with a day off and whatever, you're pitching once a week, okay, on average.
Right.
Now, with going with a 6-man rotation, it does extend your starters because they will get an occasional extra day off depending on travel and depending on whatever. But again, that's helping the starting pitching. This trend goes against what the overall direction that starting pitching has been going, and it goes against the face of what the problem has been, which has been trying to preserve your bullpen. Now you're taking a piece out of that and still trying to do the same thing. And the only way that works is if your starters don't go 5 innings. Okay, these 6 guys are going to have to go 6 and 7 in order to be able to keep that system intact. There's a few other teams that are like that have
right. Well, generally what we're seeing is that most rotations, it's usually the 1 and the 2 are the extended guys, the guys that go 6, 7, sometimes you pitch complete games.
It just works out that way.
It
That
just
you
works
want
out
those
that way.
guys too. Yeah,
They're your workhorses.
Well, they're your front end starters.
Right.
That's why they're like that. But as the year goes on and there's an injury and there's a replacement and things change,
Justin Verlander.
That 1 to 5 rotation will change. And you may have a guy go on, especially with a 6-man rotation, they typically go on 5 days rest, let's say. He may go on 7 days rest that week. Or on a short.
Must be nice.
Or if an injury happens, there are times maybe earlier in the year, probably not so much later in the year, where a guy may go on 4 days rest. He may be on a pitch count, but again, it's just to keep things moving along. Because they don't just look at today's game. They're looking at where they're going to be in 2 weeks when they don't have a day off. And they know 2 of those games are going to get blown up, and they're going to have to put 6 guys in the game. So it's a constant chess match for these managers.
I'm hearing Nolan Ryan just going, pussies.
Yeah. So again, it's just another piece when I try and find the fun in all this. Again, it's not just throwing, hitting, catching, running. There's so much that it's such a chess match, and it's just a lot of fun. So that's just something I'm watching to go into. So anyway,
listen. One time we're gonna have a show, and we're gonna get a big whiteboard behind you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure ESPN and all the networks, they have fancy telestrators where you can just point and everything happens. But we'll get you a whiteboard.
The X's and O's in baseball.
You can put your Dr. Sheldon Cooper, particle physics, your theoretical
all the
physicist.
Positions all set
there
up.
you go.
Where they need to stand.
There you go. Because let me tell you what, the analytics are just out of hand.
Yeah, out of control.
It's not like Pete Rose. You pitch, you hit, you run, you catch, blah, 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 blah. No, it's
insanity.
Analytics, man.
It's insanity. So, top 10.
Okay.
Just like in football.
Right.
With the draft.
Uh-huh.
You kind of sit in a room with a bunch of guys or in front of your laptop.
Well,
and
now
make
listen, when
decisions.
you're drafting a fantasy team in baseball, who's the priority? Is it a run-producing position player, or is it a
just
starting
like
pitcher?
just like in anything, the statistics, the categories matter. And for football, I mean, there's variations. There's PPR, there's standard, there's whatever half point PPR. Baseball, there are 20 different variations of leagues.
Yeah, no shit.
You can have head-to-head. You can do roto. You can do 5x5s. The categories. There's so many variations. So the most important thing is to figure out what your league is, just like you would do in your football. How many points do the kickers get for a 30-yarder? So you want to learn your league clearly and find out what's important. This top 10 list, again, probably not much deviation how it'll end up going, is probably like a PPR league in football, where it's pretty. People know what they're chasing in terms of categories. It's probably 8x8. There's probably 8 offensive categories, and then there's probably 8 pitching categories. So they try and, at least in some of the leagues, give you equal distribution between the pitching categories and the offensive categories. So, but this is just basically a top 10 list that they've generated based on what they think the projections for this year is going to be. And it's pretty accurate. What caught my attention right away is 5 of the top 15 guys are shortstops. So the position this year is loaded. So like in football, when you're looking at positions and you have to start a team, shortstop know that you've got 5 cracks at it, essentially, that are going to be pretty, you'll have some confidence in terms of taking those guys where you take them. So maybe early on you're not taking that shortstop. Maybe you're passing Bobby Witt, or if you're in the 3-hole or 2-hole or whatever down the line, and you'll have to get familiar with these names, but you'll understand, just like in football, put a couple of guys in your pocket that are going to be, good value guys that are maybe have high ceilings, just like in football.
Not Christian McCaffrey.
Put them over here and build a team from that perspective. But just real quick, Shohei Ohtani, number 1, what he did last year, 50 homers, 50 stolen bases.
Ridiculous.
I think he had 59 stolen bases, 54 homers, hit over 300. We've never seen that before.
Half of them were against the Marlins.
Yeah, I mean, and that team, at least on paper, got better this year. They signed.
They got more Japanese this
more
year.
pitching. They're bringing back everybody on offense.
Less gambling.
Minus Gavin Lux, but who cares? So, Shohei Ohtani, what he did last year, he's going to be the number 1. Now, in leagues, you're going to have to somewhat determine what those are going to mean once he becomes a pitcher. Because, like in his situation, on that 5th day, you're going to lose batting and you're going to gain pitching. But the leagues that I played in since he's been is you had to declare. So you could not use him for both. Now, last year, obviously, he didn't pitch at all. Didn't matter. This year, again, he's not going to be probably 100% out of the gate. So I wouldn't be looking at him, as one of the top-end pitchers. But maybe by the end of the year, certainly he'll be able to regain that.
Well, let me paint a picture for you, okay? It's the divisional round of the playoffs, okay? And let's say the Dodgers are down a game in a 7-game series. And here comes Big Show. And Big Show comes out and deals a 7-game gem and bails them out. He's the insurance policy for another World Series. He really is.
Well, I got news for you. There are 103.5 wins according to Vegas this year. So it's not just Ohtani.
I'd be inclined to take the over.
They've got other pieces that are certainly going to be shining this year.
They had how many last year? 111? 113?
No,
like that?
I don't know what it was last year. I don't know if they got the 110 last year. I don't think they did. I think it was like 108, I think.
It was a bunch.
But either way, they're clearly the favorite, and they should be, and they have lots of talent. So Ohtani clearly will be number 1, being designated here as a batter because he will be in the lineup. And the thing is, as a batter last year, I believe he only missed like 4 or 5 games. Yeah, he had over 600 at-bats last year. So he had 636 at-bats last year. So that means he
not only great, but a workhorse.
Yeah, so he didn't miss many games last year. Okay, so he's clearly number 1. Bobby Witt, man, the Royals, they're a bottom payroll team, but they just find guys. This dude led the league in hitting last year in the American League, hit 332, 30 homers. I think he got to 40 stolen bases or pretty close to it. 31 stolen. He went 30-30. Oh, you remember when Jose Canseco, you were like 30-30? Oh, my God. Yeah, he did it last year, and he hit 330. So was on base 40% of the time.
With a terrible team around.
I mean, a decent young team, but not the Dodger lineup.
No.
Yes, for sure.
No.
So, and in baseball, again, we can talk about a lot of different things when you're looking at, check boxes, same as in football. You're on the fence. You're not sure. You look at the lineup. You look at the protection around him. You look at a guy in Cleveland who's on this list who, in a lot of my mock drafts, when I'm sitting at like 7 and 8, I'm looking at Jose Ramirez, okay? And I'm looking at, and they have him at 5 this year, which is incredible. This dude is just the ultimate fucking player. Last year, 39 homers, 41 stolen bases, on base 34% of the time, hit 280. He just does everything. He's a beast. And there's not much in that lineup. Josh Naylor hit behind him. I think Andre Jimenez, a little infielder, scrappy hitter. He was hitting second most of the year.
Oye, the number is Jimenez.
Yeah,
It's Jimenez.
So it's like not a lot of protection. And unfortunately, this year,
Aprende más español.
I'd like to see that dude in the Dodger lineup or in the Phillies lineup or now the Mets lineup. He's striking out at a 45% clip in his career. It's terrible. But a guy like this, and I watch a lot of MLB Network, and what they do, which is amazing, is they break down every player. They'll break down swings if you're a hitter. They break down pitching if you're a pitcher.
Right.
And they really get into the swing, okay, the analysis of it. And these are by baseball players, guys that did this for years, that are ex-professional studs in the game, that know hitting, okay? And they break down, and you can clearly see it on tape. It's a shoulder this, or it's a leg up ahead of this, or the head's not in the right spot. Whatever it is, the athletes have this ability to get this information too, and they're working as hard as they can. Baseball is the toughest game in the world to be good at, okay? You're measured at a failure rate of 70%. If you fail 70% in baseball, you're a Hall of Famer, okay? Where else in life can you fail 70% of the time and be considered the greatest at what you do? Okay, so that just goes to tell you the magnitude of how difficult
Strip
the
club
game is.
DJ.
Well, you're in the top 60% for that. So, my point is that it's a brutal, brutal game, and guys that are so ultra talented, like an Aaron Judge, who at any time can hit the ball out of any ballpark on the planet, deserves to be where he is here at number 3. And
Well, yeah.
I mean, the guy is the only thing that's going to derail Aaron Judge's career is injury, in my opinion. Just because you just don't see many 6'7" guys, 250, 260,
Right.
run like he does, jump like he does, play like he does.
Paul O'Neill, his first, let's say 6-8 seasons that he was playing, he was what, 6'6"? He was a
Paul
big
was
dude.
a big guy. He was a first baseman though, but
Yeah,
still,
he could get after it. He could run.
Yeah.
And when they sent him out to right field, he could still get after the ball.
But Aaron Judge
big
is
dudes can ball.
Aaron Judge is a different cat. And
well, he's also a good kid too. What I'm hoping for him, okay, ultimately, is that he can take the coaching. Okay, he can take the coaching. He can improve what needs to be improved, especially when the playoffs are considered. He can improve what needs to be improved, and we all know when you're with the Yankees, playoffs and postseason counts a lot, especially with the fans there. I mean, Yankee fans have pretty high standards. Unrealistic sometimes,
Yeah.
but high standards because they're the standard of Major League Baseball, really, honestly. So, and by the way, you're allowed to have long hair and you're allowed to grow facial hair
In New York,
because Steinbrenner's tired of losing out to free agents with beards.
yeah, basically, I mean, everything comes to an end eventually.
Right,
Even the
right.
beard-
Not everybody's,
even the beardless Yankee.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if Nick Swisher's going to come back and grow some facial hair for him. So, yeah, Judge deserves to be at 3. Now, this next guy is my favorite player in baseball. That's not a Philly, okay?
Uh-oh.
Ela De La Cruz.
Uh-oh.
Dude.
Why? Why are you going to say that he's former Marlin, Ella De La Cruz?
No.
Oh, the kid with the Reds. Oh,
Cincinnati.
sorry. There's so many De La Cruzes in the league
This dude will be in the conversation this year, of course, with Ohtani, if he has anything close to the year he had last
For
year.
MVP?
MVP National
Yeah.
League. 100% chance. This dude stole 70 bases last year. He'll get that this year, if not more, because I think he had more opportunities. The Reds lineup got better. They're better as a team. They have Tito. Sorry, now that just popped in my head. Francona is now coaching the
Right.
Reds. Thank you very much.
Yep.
My second favorite team in baseball. Yes, that team right there and that player right there, Ela De La Cruz, will be in the MVP discussion this year. Last year, okay, first year, pretty much full year as a season. 25 homers, 67 stolen bases. He hit 260, which again doesn't seem like a big number, but oh, by the way, it's 30 points above league average. And he still got on base 34% of the time. So those numbers go up this year. Maybe the power numbers, they don't even have to. Only if he hits 25 home runs. But he scored 105 runs last year.
Yep.
Only getting on base 34% of the time.
Yep.
So all those peripheral numbers go up as he gets better in the zone. This dude is 6'5", okay, and
Yep.
he's the fastest player in the league. Freak of nature. Nobody 6'5" can run like this kid runs.
And his plate box is incredible.
He hits him. He's just such a good young player that's going to get better and better and better. He will be in the discussion for the next 15 years as a top.
You can't.
Major League
He's
Baseball
like
player.
Vladimir Guerrero Sr., dude. You can't pitch him low and outside. He'll go get it.
Bro, he's so good.
He's got those long arms.
Yeah.
Got that long trunk.
So he's so fast and so talented. Good dude too. Okay, next guy, Jose Ramirez. We talked about, just one of my other favorite players in baseball.
And you can count on him year after year after year after year. He's just so consistently great.
Despite the offense around him, despite whatever it is, they're Cleveland. I don't know, underrated I think as a player, but still deserves to be at number 5. Another young shortstop here, Gunnar Henderson.
Ooh,
man, there's
yes.
so many young guys in baseball. This dude, another guy, 30 homers last year under his first full season. 37 homers last year. Sorry,
carrying the Orioles.
He stole 20 bases last year. He hit 280 last year, got on base 36% of the time. The dude's a beast, only going to get better.
And Baltimore goes the way he goes.
And oh, by the way, he was born in this century. So
I hate him.
He's a kid. All these kids,
it's
unreal. So
he is though. He's a great player.
Deserves to be.
One of our cohorts at the club, Erica. Erica loves herself some more. She's a Baltimore girl.
Yeah, big Oriole fan.
Big Baltimore girl. Big Oriole fan. Big Ravens fan.
And I've been telling her.
Love her some Gunner.
I wish I was an Orioles fan too. I really do. Mookie Betts, number 7. Dude's a 300 bowler, by the way. They got him at second base, shortstop, right field. Here's what I heard. I heard that he's going to be playing a lot of right field this year, a little bit of second base.
You got to take some of the workload off of him.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're focusing on.
He's in
doing.
Is his 11th season now, 12th season?
I'd have to look, but he's up there. Here's another guy they're talking about doing the same thing to her today, Jose Altuve, putting him in right field. Mm-hmm. Saving him a little bit of
easier to cheat out there.
And in Boston, Devers, which is obviously kind of a joke. Listen, Boston, they've got talent. They're a good team.
They went and got Bregman.
And that's a dude that I didn't know how good he was at third base. Gold glove. Okay, lights out. Top third baseman in the American League. Problem is Devers, who is one of the worst third basemen in the league, doesn't want to leave his position.
Well, guess what?
Well, it's going to be coming around where
and his hot bat go your ass out to right field.
Well, last year his hot bat wasn't the hottest it's been in his career.
I understand.
He is not in a position to negotiate, Mr. Devers. So he needs to kind of put his head down and get to work.
Yeah, well, listen, it's common sense. I mean, his wins against replacement. So his replacement is going to be Alex Bregman. Okay, a gold glove third baseman. So, and I'm sure that Devers' bat is going to come back around. I mean, everybody has a bad year.
Yeah, I'm not going to discredit that.
I mean, the AL really hasn't so much caught up to him as much as he had a bad year. He had a few bad games.
No.
Okay, you know as well as anybody. You have 8 bad games, it blows your batting average out of the water.
I've seen the lineup. The lineup now with Bregman is good. It was good last year.
Yeah.
They scored runs last year.
It's better this
Their
year.
pitching was the problem
more
last
power
year.
this year with Bregman
Their
there.
lineup is better.
Yeah.
So you got to assume that Devers.
See, I was paying attention.
Yeah. So no, that team, Boston aside, again, we mentioned about people and changing positions and shifting and not being happy. That's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds in Boston. But so Mookie Betts, number 7. Guy is just perennial. He's in the best lineup in baseball. He's probably going to be at the top of the best lineup in baseball with guys like Ohtani and Smith and Freeman and all these guys behind him. It's just
and the shiitake mushroom guy.
It's just not fair. It's not fair. Kyle Tucker went from Houston. Obviously, he's in the Cubs now. The Cubs lineup is good. They got him at 8. I'm worried about Kyle Tucker. I know he spent a lot of time in Japan. He's aging player. He's 28. He's still
the
young.
The Cubs still have some moves to make, though. They have some holes they have to fill.
I'm just worried about him staying on the field. He missed a lot of time last year. Now, he did have 23 homers last year.
Right.
In only 277 at-bats.
Ooh,
That's
nice.
1 per 10.5 at-bats.
Can you imagine if he gets upwards around 500?
That's a scary number. Now, he hit 289. He's an excellent ball player. I just questioned the ability to stay on the field with this guy. And it's been sort of a problem. So they got him at 8. If he's on the field, yeah, he deserves to be there. But, again, he's one of these corner infielder guys that you're going to have to kind of worry about drafting some protection.
I was going to say, if you draft him 8th, then you come back around in the second round, you got to go get another guy who's going to be an everyday dog. Forget your starting pitcher. Go get another everyday dog.
Here's a difference in between baseball and football. When you're drafting football, you can handcuff.
Right.
You can go get the guy who's number 2 in line.
Right.
Baseball, you're not grabbing the guy on the bench to fill a roster spot.
No.
So you're drafting players that can fill in. At least you have to figure 80 to 85% of what you're going to be missing, at least to hold the place, right? And in order to do that, you have to go get another starter from another team. So you have to make sure when you handcuff in baseball, you do it in a way that you got enough coverage there, and it could be for a long time. Baseball.
Could you handcuff within a system?
in
Within
terms-
a team system? Say you take.
Typically, the players aren't good enough that you're going to want to put them on your team and hold down a roster spot.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going
I
to.
have never drafted a fantasy baseball lineup, so
and plus you don't know who that player is going to be until that player gets hurt.
Right.
You know, it's not like you can look at a depth chart in football and go, well, the backup running back, or at least when you look at snap share,
Right.
typically if a guy's getting 60-40, the number 2 guy should move into that one role.
Yeah, like in football, you know that if you're dumb enough to draft Christian McCaffrey first or second, you got to go get his backup sometime in the 7th or 8th round.
Phillies, if you draft Trey Turner at shortstop, you're not going to go draft Whit Merrifield, his backup, and who's going to, it just doesn't happen. So you have to be aware of the players you're drafting, what maybe their downside in terms of injury, because baseball, you go on the IL, now they have a 10-day IL, I think, but mostly it's 2 weeks. That's 14 games. I mean, you're missing you need to get somebody in there who can certainly replace what you're missing. So Kyle Tucker's a guy who is, if in the lineup, is a beast, just concerned about his durability, and he's at 8. So number 9, probably the best mustache in baseball, Corbin Carroll. This dude doesn't even look like a baseball player when he's out there.
He can be a Yankee now.
But he is also very good. 22 homers, 35 stolen bases last year. It's kind of a down year for him last year. You're betting on the upside here because his career averages are 260 as a batting average. Last year he only hit 230. So there were some injuries. Maybe there's something wrong with the swing. Something to watch in spring to see if he's kind of rebounded, if he seems to be hitting the ball well.
Looking at you, hitting coach.
Yeah, so that's something you need to kind of keep an eye on. But
manager,
upside, talent-wise, this kid Corbin Carroll, he deserves to be in the top 10. So he certainly is there. Let's see, number 9. I'm sorry, last guy, number 10, Juan Soto. Got him at number 10.
I'm sitting here wondering, when is Juan Soto going to get into the picture? I mean, we're talking about a guy who's probably going to be in the MVP picture.
I just want to look at the Mets lineup for a second. Last year, Lindor had his best season in several. Okay, now his average, he's a 260 guy. On base a little bit, maybe a 330 guy, but he's not your typical leadoff guy. But he hit 30 homers last year.
And now he's going to be in front of Soto.
Well, perhaps. I'm curious to see how the lineup goes. The most important piece in that lineup this year, and people who know baseball are talking about it, it's not the re-signing of, what's his name at first base. It's obviously Soto, putting him in the lineup.
Big Pete Alonso.
No. The important part of that lineup this year is Mark Vientos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who last year was a stud.
Agreed.
All his peripherals were just like beyond his years, okay?
And if you put him at the 2.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into what I look at in terms of assessing a baseball player's talent, but if a young guy is near the top in stuff like contact rate, plate discipline, those sorts of things measure how good a player has an approach at the plate, especially first time around, because that is important. If you don't know the pitchers other than seeing them on tape, seeing a pitch at 100 miles an hour is different than watching it on film. So it's getting to be a familiarity with the players. That's a disadvantage for the hitter. But yet he got through all of those and shined. So here's a guy that putting him 5th, to have a guy like that hit 5th in your lineup that can drive and runs, can obviously can hit gaps and stuff, and is a smart player. That Mets lineup this year could be one of the top lineups in baseball. So, and those guys just have to do what they did last year. And all they did now is add one of the best players in baseball. Soto this year at 10, I think, is a little bit of a discount because easily he could be, and let's just look at his numbers last year.
Oh, listen, first
He got
of all,
the 40 homers last
yeah,
year.
10 is a conservative ranking.
He got 40 homers last year. He had 288. And if you remember during a stretch last year where Judge was really struggling, Soto carried the Yankees. He's got that ability.
Well, how many New York homers do you think are actually in a draft going to jump up and grab him third, fourth, fifth? So,
this is the guy
discount.
that easily at the 4109 he had last year. I mean, if he's at 288 last year in Yankee Stadium in that short porch, I mean, I know the Cubs in the summertime, you can launch balls out of that stadium too. I don't know. He can easily be a top 5 guy for me this year. So
he's feasted on NL pitching.
Just looking quickly at the top 10, if I'm moving some pieces around, and it's really hard, I'm worried about Ramirez at 5, only because of the lineup around him. I would move Dela Cruz. He's already at 4, but I'm comfortable with any of the first 4 guys you take. Ohtani, Witt, Judge, and Cruz. In any order, actually. Probably Ohtani 1, and you can probably flip those other 3 guys.
Cruz second, definitely.
Yeah.
We're talking about best overall baseball player
Probably
in the game.
Witt 3rd, Judge 4th, something like that. And then you start to get down into like Mookie Betts and Corbin Carroll. I probably wouldn't have at 9. I would probably jump Soto 3 or 4 spots, get him maybe 6 or 7, but
easily.
I mean, you're not going to go wrong in the first round.
I could see 1, 2, 3. It could end up being Ohtani, Dela Cruz, Soto. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. Now
just 1, 2, 3.
the first pitcher taken here is Tarek Skroop for the Tigers, number 18. So that's the middle second round coming back. And this dude, man, I saw numbers from him last year.
He was an inning hog though, right?
Listen, let me get this right. His last 10 or 11 or 12 starts, his batting average against was 123, and his ERA was like 1.24. What?
Right. Well, and listen, in the AL, anything under a 3 is all-star.
What? 100. His
or
numbers
anything under
last
a
year,
4 is all-star.
He went 18-4 last year. He got the rock 31 times. He missed 2 starts. He went. Let's see. His ERA was a 2.39.
What's his average innings pitched?
He went just under 200. He went 192 innings, but he had 228 strikeouts. So he's at just about 10 Ks per 9. WHIP under
Just
a 1.
out there mowing.
He won the Cy Young last year.
Yeah, I know.
So, whatever, dude. I mean, he's number 18. So my point about the pitchers is that this is a year, like most, that if you're not going to be in the race for some of these top guys, and I generally don't chase it, just like in football, I don't chase the quarterbacks either. You do need to build a staff, but you want to focus on innings. You want to focus on K per 9. You want to focus on teams that are good teams that have a chance to give you wins, because wins are generally one of the categories that you're chasing. Those are consistent. So you're looking at the peripherals, you're looking at wins, good teams. Those sorts of pitchers are the ones where, when you're starting to get into the 4th and 5th rounds,
Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, certainly any Dodgers pitchers, their value goes up tremendously because they're going to win 2/3 of their games. So, I mean, that's math, right? Taking a pitcher for the Oakland A's, the leading win guy on that staff is going to have 10 wins next year. Okay, so guess what? You're not going to do well in wins if you draft the Oakland A's. That sort of stuff you can get a handle on, but I'll definitely get more into the actual meat and potatoes of some of the players, of some value picks, of some pitchers that I like, stuff like that. But this was just a taste today. Get a little bit of a flavor of what's coming. Because football's over, right? I mean, I know we got the draft and a couple of, we talked about, April 24th?
Free agency comes
March
up
10th.
March 10th.
Okay,
Yeah, it starts the tampering
there'll be stuff
period.
to talk about, but we'll get to watch baseball every day.
Yeah.
So day and night, you got baseball. FESPN, we covered that. And
Just
yeah.
Ning, ESPN.
F. Aaron Rodgers.
Who's doing, besides MLB Network, who is one of the major networks, who's doing baseball best right now?
Well, FX or Fox Sports.
Fox, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have all the local coverage still. TBS, still has the playoff contract.
Well,
'Cause
yeah, and
they'll do
they're the
like-
home of the Braves,
Well,
so
they usually take care of like the divisional round playoffs because they've got all the games. They don't show them.
which by the way, bad news for everybody in the NL is Chris Sale has just been absolutely mowing people down or already back to form.
He was good last year.
Yeah, I know. He's already
I
back
was
to
on
form.
him last year.
Yeah.
Ask anybody. I drafted
And he's
him.
going to be back another inning monster, another strikeout
Dude,
monster.
here's what you do for pitchers in spring training. If you're watching these guys and they're in the mid-90s already in their first and second start in
Yep.
spring training, put them over here.
Yep, sit him down.
Okay, because they're fine.
You've done your three
Okay.
innings. Go sit down.
You're fine. Velo is important in baseball. Everybody has it, but you have to maintain it and you have to be able to use it efficiently.
Wait, don't say velocity.
Velocity, right? And, well, I got a lot of terms I can throw at you. So, it's very
Remember, we're nerds, but
I know.
you gotta let the layman know.
I know. So velocity, very important. So you want to look at that comparatively to last year.
Right.
So if a guy last year was averaging his fastball was at 96 miles an hour and he's in spring throwing 91, then you need to watch his second and third start. Because not everybody comes out of the gate throwing 96.
Right.
That's fine. I'm not saying you have to. But if it's a week before we get to opening day and your guy's at 91 still and he was at 95 last year, then put him over there.
Right.
Do not
right.
take him.
Well, hey, and you look back to guys like Roger Clemens, who comes out in the spring training, and he's throwing in the high 80s. Why? Because he's working on his location. He's working on getting the ball, putting the ball where he wants it to. And then you'll see the third, the fourth start. All of a sudden, you hear that pop, 92, pop, 95.
What I'm saying is don't look. A guy can have a 10 ERA in the spring, and I don't care.
Don't care.
Because
not one bit.
Here's what I will say: is they'll go out and just work on a pitch.
Right.
They won't. It's not even so much velocity. It's a pitch.
Yep.
So they'll throw 10 straight curveballs.
Yep.
And guess what? The hitters probably know that there's going to be another curveball
Yep.
coming. And,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the biggest thing in baseball. Because like we just said, everybody throws 98, but not everybody can throw 98 with deception. That makes that 98 look 102.
Oh yeah.
So that's the difference here.
You work on your tricks later on.
So, spring training ERA is nothing. It's all about velo. That's all I care about. If not even the fastest, it's just what it was.
Right.
Again, you don't want a guy coming in 4 or 5 mile an hour under what he was last year
No.
and consistently carry that through the spring. You want to have a guy get to where he was last year, at least close enough, and then you can determine, then if he's getting hit, if it starts 1 and 2, and if he's still at a 10 ERA, then you need to reassess
Well,
those.
I mean, listen, a pitching coach can tell you to heat it up in practice. You're warming up or whatever. You throw a simulated game. Your pitching coach can tell you to heat it up. No problem. 91, 92, 93. Okay, what your normally the top end of your velocity is. But when you're just doing a throwing session, you're looking for location.
Yeah, I'm just
You're-
saying-
You're coming out and getting a start. You're looking for location.
You can wipe your ass with anything result oriented in spring training.
Right.
You're looking at the
100%.
metric, it's totally metric driven. You're totally looking at where the metrics line up to where you were at this point
Yeah,
last year.
yeah,
And
I mean-
it's no harder than velocity. Velocity, and in terms of location, like you were saying,
Right.
like they'll work on specific location.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, the
Those
first
two
first thing out of the manager or the batting coach the hitting coach or the pitching coach, first thing out of their mouth when you come back to the dugout, even if you get shelled, how you feel? Great, cool. Okay, you're going back out next inning. Okay, cool. Okay, that's all they care about is how you feel. You feel all right? Yeah, you good? You want to go back out? Yep. Okay, no problem. So
Do this next time
get
you
the
watch
work
a game.
in.
Most people don't do that. I do it. It makes Diana crazy all the time. Is every time there's a hit, not even if there's a hit or not, is always look at where the catcher sets up on every pitch.
Right.
Just look at where he puts his
100%.
glove, okay?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that 90% of the time, that pitcher doesn't hit that glove. Okay? Just doesn't.
Right.
He's off by an inch, by 3, by 6, sometimes more.
Well,
Then you start to chase the mistakes. And if you look at a pitcher's poor performance, you can clearly see that every time the catcher wanted that 2-1 fastball low and away, and you got it low and into the lefty and he crushed it, well, guess what? It doesn't matter how hard you were throwing that ball or how soft you were throwing that ball, you missed your spots. And if
Yep.
you miss enough spots, you're going to hit enough bats. And that's what baseball's about. It's about not just how hard you throw or how good your breaking pitch is. It's about location and deception. That's what the game is in terms of pitching and hitting. Because everybody throws 1,000, and everybody who's got a bat in hand has amazing hand-eye coordination that can put the
Right.
ball in play.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of putting it together at that time, in that moment, because it's a chess game between the pitcher and yourself at that moment.
right.
Okay, so that's what you're looking at in spring training. That's what you're looking at as the season progresses in the early stages. Is your pitcher doing that? So watch your pitcher, watch his starts. If if he's doing so, have confidence in that guy. Know that you're going to get his best.
All right, baseball nerd, are you done?
No, but I will stop.
Okay. he's not going to be done. Now we will be back next week, right? You're not. There's no volleyball tournament.
I'm in Orlando next weekend.
Huh?
Again, I'm in Orlando.
What? You're in Orlando again. Another volleyball tournament.
Coming back
Fortunately,
Sunday.
spring training is going on, so we'll be able to go in 2 weeks.
For sure.
Are you sure?
And we'll have.
Are you positive?
We'll have a 3-hour baseball show. We'll
Listen,
do drafting and advice.
You
and
know I love Bree. You know I love your daughter. You know I think she's awesome. I think she's an awesome volleyball player. She's a great kid. But you're interrupting my podcast, lady.
Yeah, no, we gotta get this worked out.
Keep kicking ass, kid. Go get that scholarship. Make that Olympic team. I mean, hell, turn pro if you can. Beach. Okay, well there you go. That's the Olympics. That's the Olympics.
Yeah.
All right, do you feel all right about your daughter wearing those skimpy beach volleyball outfits?
Anyway, the kid, her partner this year, just got a that she's paired up with for beach. Got a full ride to Stetson.
Is she a 6-footer?
No, her partner's like 5'10", I think.
I know, man. Those beach volleyball players, they're all like little fast girls.
Well, that's good for Bree because she's.
They used to be all 6-footers, and it's like the girls that couldn't make the basketball team played volleyball.
Yeah.
And now you have these compact athletes that have 45-inch vertical leaps that can spike, and I'm like, you're a midget. How do you get that? I'm 6'5", and if I jump as high as I can, which is about an 11-inch vertical, I can just barely get my fingertips up to the top of the net. And these girls are 5'6", and they're going boing, and they're getting up, and it's like their elbow comes to the top of the net. I'm like,
yeah, that's my daughter. She's got some ups.
Serious hops. But wear a long skirt. Uncle Gonzo says wear a long skirt.
A wrap.
A wrap. A nice sari or a sarong.
A beach wrap.
All right.
Why is that wearing a wrap? Her dad's in the stands. Okay.
Yeah,
we got it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, woo, oh, God, no, don't brush the, oh, no, that's sand. Oh.
Can you bring a gun to the beach?
No guns at the beach. All right. Well, before we start getting really weird here, we're gonna cut it off. We've jibber jabbered for an hour. We've hit you hard with a half hour of baseball, which you're welcome. And we'll come back in 2 weeks when more of spring training is hashed out, and we'll have a preview of free agency for the NFL. Free agency, because it'll be a week off. When we come back in 2 weeks, let me do the math. Yeah, man, free agency is going to be upon us for the NFL by then. So say goodbye to the nice people.
See you later. I'm reading more Steelers stories.
Oh, no. What's your consternation now?
It's another story about Stafford and Cup.
Okay.
Different writer.
It might happen.
Allison Kohler. That's not the guy from Sporting News.
No. What have I told you? We listened to two guys, Schefter and Darlington. Those are the two guys. Schefter, Darlington. Then it's a fact. All right? Look at the consternation on his face.
Luther Burden, Missouri.
Luther, you can't
Luther
trust.
Burden the third. Who were the first two? I never
You
heard
can't
of this guy.
trust anybody named Luther.
Steeler prospect.
All right. Well, then, on behalf of myself and the Maz, thank you very, very much for watching. Make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. The Gonzo Radio Sports Desk, the Gonzo Radio Network. Subscribe, like and subscribe, Catch on, get on, because things are going to be moving apace in the very near future, and you want to be part of that. You really do. So on behalf of myself and the Maz, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.